Well, suppose we all gather ourselves and be in touch with our inner self, self-remembering. It is a rather extraordinary organization. It is not described this way in the classic literatures. It is not really described this way in any literature that comes to mind. A lot of planning, a tremendous amount of effort on people's part has gotten this thing off the ground the way I envisioned it. So this leg of the journey, I would say, started out 3, maybe 4 years ago. The purpose was not necessarily for me to train students. The purpose that I saw is for me to train teachers. Tons of effort has gone in this direction and continues to go in this direction and will continue to be the main thrust of my work. I am extremely pleased with the way it's going. I'm not delighted, but I'm pleased. That I have not read about in literatures. I really do not know that it's been done before, but it is being done now. The third line of work is to work for the work itself. The second line of work is to work for the community. It is with good satisfaction that I see that the associates are meeting several times a week. Good work. Necessary, important. There basically is no work without it, nor can there be. From the very, very beginning, in the most basic of literatures, and in the beginning of my presentation, I always said there are 3 lines of work. The first line is to work on yourself, to prepare yourself so that you can enter the second line of work, which is working as a community for the purpose of entering the third line of work, which is to advance the work. And that is being done. It is essential in these times, and I suppose always has been, that people in general should put aside the miseries that cause them personal misery, and the miseries that cause them to partake in a general societal world plunge towards disaster. This work has been presented for perhaps thousands of years as an antidote to the human situation. As we trace history, we see that the human situation has never for a day ceased to be without greed, war, murder, and you read the papers as well as I do. It has never changed. These are not the worst of times or the best of times. This is the way it has always been. When we've said a life of service, I have meant contacting, being, touching as many people as humanly possible to oppose the spirit of gravity. That is a supreme and totally necessary effort. It always has been going on, because we see that the wars and the disasters of thousands of years have not finished off civilization. We must ask, what stopped it from being a complete and utter termination of mankind? People like yourselves. Nietzsche helped in presenting the idea of the spirit of gravity as well, or perhaps better than anyone. In my own presentation, I have accepted that idea thoroughly, and to it, of course, added my own observations, which is not really a new observation. The words are different, the melody is different, and the tempo is different. But it's the same message. I present again that there is something which I, deriving from Nietzsche, call the spirit of gravity. It is a force, very much like the force of gravity. If a stone goes up in the air, it will return to the ground. This is a power or a force or an entity. The words we can apply to it are many, that lives and thrives from the suffering and destruction of mankind. There is no act against humanity that does not please, satisfy, and feed the spirit of gravity. Our task is to combat that force for the rest of our natural lives and to prepare our replacements. My effort has been for years to prepare my replacements. I am very well on the way to doing that, which is why I'm so pleased that what I represent will not pass on with me, but will continue. Not out of choice or fancy, but will continue because the people that partook of these teachings that I presented have incurred a lifelong debt to carry this on. That is and always was the price. Of course, there have always been people who came with daily round problems, solved them or didn't solve them, and went on. That has never been my concern. My concern has been, and continues to be, and always will be, how do these principles get passed on to the next generation? I have no more than a passing fancy towards helping someone out with their life problems. That's really doesn't turn me on at all. If I have trained 10, and each of those 10 trains 10 more, we're getting to 1,000. That is the plan that I have, and that's the plan towards which I place all my efforts. I call these folks the associates, which I have stolen from Staples, I suppose. If you want to buy something there, you look for someone with a red shirt. So, this room contains the associates, or some of them, most of them. Their task is to dedicate their lives to passing on these principles, as I have dedicated mine. My effort is to keep these associates working, thinking, functioning, and in shape. So when I speak and think, I'm working towards keeping fit the associates. Why should I talk to 50 people or 60 people or more? No point in it. I train this man, that man, that man. They can talk. If there's something that they wish to be more knowledgeable about, that's my purpose. That's by way of saying, if your cousin Joe is really at his wit's end or what have you, I'm basically not interested. Perhaps Derek has time for it, or Albert, or someone, but not me. I'm here for when Derek or Albert or someone comes and says, I am working with this person and they are presenting this and this issue. Could you help me deal with it? And that's what I'm here for. Of course, in the meantime, they are getting their enlightenment, and I continue to work on mine. I feel extraordinarily fortunate that I have come to realize this part of my work. It really is, for me, a dream come true. The associates again and again and again have to learn and relearn, because in the field they are going to have difficulties and challenges placed before them on a hopefully daily basis. They have to learn how to work, how to keep themselves fit, how to present ideas. Of course, I steal from yet another movie. Soon they will be all that is left of me. But that's what you people are. What will be left of me? I leave no physical heirs, nor have I ever decided to, nor have I ever appreciated. These are my heirs, this is my family, this is the only family I recognize. I do not recognize blood families. To me, that's meaningless. It's work families. Whatever principle I speak of, it's always a retraining of the associates. And I've come to the conclusion that this idea of the men's group is so passé and so corny and so out of whack, I don't want to hear it. These are the associates, you people that work in this manner. You're associated with my work. You're part of me in these efforts. Whenever I speak with the idea that this is what you must present to the people you come in contact with, for you to continue functioning and for these ideas to continue functioning. I must help you present them as accurately and as effectively as possible. Yes, and I'm so glad. Years have passed since I devoted my energy and my effort to the daily unhappinesses of people whose girlfriends went away or whose husbands went on the road or this happened or that happened and so forth. because it's essential that every day I lift the bar on myself and I lift it on you. You will have to play with the bar in terms of your, I don't know what to call them, but you will have to play with the bar. So when I speak of training, I only mean to train you. As an aside, whatever happens, I don't like my job, I don't like my husband, my wife, my girlfriend, my daughter. In my mind, that's total schlock. I would have said this 10 years ago, but perhaps nobody could have taken it then. Total schlock. Your girlfriend, your wife, your son, your dog has a destiny to lead their lives as they see fit. It's their business, not yours and not mine. If your husband leaves you, he has every right in the world to leave you. If he dies, he dies. He has every right in the world to die. Whatever happens in your life has the right to happen. And your only resource is within yourself. How do you acclimatize to the details of your life? I'm sorry, sir, your business goes broke. Well, it's too bad. Businesses do go broke. If you don't want your business to be broke, don't go into business. Your business won't get broke. Now, what are you going to do that it's gone broke? What are you going to do that your girlfriend left? What are you going to do that your building burnt down? What are you going to do that the nation is... What are you going to do with the cards dealt to you? I have no intention of mingling with the cards that were dealt to you. Those are the cards in your life. That's between you, destiny, karma, they say, God, they say. But that's what happened to you on this trip. Happens to me too. So, what shall we call the people you come in contact with, the newbies or the wannabes? Would anybody have a good name for it, or have a contest and get a name? For tonight, the customers.
How about students?
Excuse me?
Students.
Well, no, I don't know, maybe. A student is a student who has decided to be a student. We're talking perhaps about people who have not decided to be students.
Yes.
But returning to the spirit of gravity, which is, and believe me, I don't have earth time to screw around. I don't have earth time to just throw out, to make conversation. I am fortunate that I have been given the capacities that I've been given. Do I deserve them? By no means. They just happened to what would have been considered the last horse in the race. When I say the spirit of gravity, it means that everyone that you've been in contact with, who doesn't call back, who doesn't show, who quits, whatever went wrong, It is the spirit of gravity in action. It is not you or the work that is at fault. The best word I could think of with a tenth of a second thought. It's the spirit of gravity, which can also be translated as the way things are. Every person walking down the street will have within him the urge, the inclination to avoid work on himself or herself. That inclination is the spirit of gravity, the same way that every human being carries within themselves the germ of cancer or the germ of tuberculosis. Everyone carries the spirit of gravity. You have battled and will continue to battle that force every moment of your life that you choose to be awake. If you are not battling that force, it's because you have chosen not to be awake. When you're students, thank you, friend, don't call, don't come, tell you to go screw yourself or anything else. You are battling against the spirit of gravity. What you are going to do depends upon your amount of clarity, upon your amount of dedication, upon your amount of innovation, but it depends on you. I gave the example. An ad goes up on the wall somewhere. Call such and such. Whatever the ad is, I've never seen one. Call such and such. Somebody calls such and such, means that the ad is working. 20 people call such and such, the ad is working. 50 people, whatever, the ad is working. Somebody, one of the associates, picks up the phone and says, hello. The work of the ad is now over. This is phase 2. The associate becomes the embodiment of the ad. The associate becomes the living contact between work and the person who called. I often hear that X amount of people have called and a much smaller percentage has shown up or something. That is in the hands of the associate who picked up the phone. The would-be student was motivated enough to call, but after having spoken with whoever, is not motivated enough to go further. The contact, of course, is inexperienced. Part of the training. It is to be accepted as part of the training. My direction of work with the contacts includes salesmanship. Plain and simple. If they don't show up, they didn't get sold. Plain and simple. Let's proceed a little bit more on that idea because I like that idea. Any idea that someone possesses and wishes to see put into action requires a Herculean amount of effort and salesmanship. Last night, for instance, a movie called A River Runs Through It. Pretty decent picture. Robert Redford produced it. The presentation said that Robert Redford was so impressed with this novel, or this short story, whatever it was, he wanted to move it into a movie. We can only speculate on the amount of effort that it took for this man to get many other people to invest their time and their money to make this a movie. He had to find people and convince them that this movie should be made, and it should be made with their efforts, and it should be made with their money. That's a hard sell. Yet, the entire history of Hollywood is based just upon that. Somebody goes out, books the star, books the producer, books it, does it all, and sells it. Is it just Hollywood? No. Barack Obama is a pretty good salesman. I was reminded by one of the associates that Bill Clinton, 10 years ago, looked pretty amateurish compared to the way he looks today. If Derek wishes to sell his novel, he's going to have to leave blood on the floor. He's going to have to convince someone, plenty of people, to sink time and money into his novel, or Albert's Enterprises, or anyone here. Your life is salesmanship. And I feel a twinge of anger. How come none of the great gurus of our time have told us that? What the hell's the matter with them? They should wake up. You see the girl of your dreams standing at the bar, and you walk over and begin your sales pitch. Hey, honey, you come here a lot? Whatever your pitch is, that's what's going to happen. But you're going to have to move from where you are to where she is and sell her on the idea that it would be to her benefit to know you. That goes for your personal job, that goes for your dog, that goes for anything else. Remember that old story? You've got to show your dog that he shouldn't bite you, and if you kick him every day when you come home, he's going to bite you. If you bring him a nice steak, he's going to love you. Your life is an endless sales meeting. Sharpen up and get into it. Now, because every stick has two ends, the associates get a place to practice their salesmanship, and nobody's the loser. No money invested. Well, some, I guess, for phone calls or what have you. But this is where you practice. So don't come to me and say, oh, woe is me. No, woe is not me. Woe is that you're not that good a salesman, but if you keep on working at it, you win. Another twinge. There was a wonderful therapist, psychoanalyst, very well-known guy called J. Haley. I read his books, not too many of them. I read what he had to say. I attended his lecture in Philadelphia when I didn't have a car. J. Haley wrote a rather brief, small book called The Power Tactics of Jesus Christ, in which Mr. Haley presented that the story that we know of a man called Jesus Christ depicts the world's greatest salesman. Because, as the story goes, this man just about bowled over the Roman Empire. He convinced thousands of people to walk calmly into arenas of lions who ate them up, convinced them there would be no pain, this was all to their benefit, and they were going to meet the heavens. Psst, isn't that still going on? Isn't that still going on? Convincing young people to go and blow themselves up and don't worry about it, it's not going to hurt, you're going to heaven, the dancing girls and all of it. Everyone around you, your children, your dog, your mothers, your fathers, the world is selling something. I'm selling something. I've met throughout the years so many people who come to work because this is spiritual and has nothing to do with dirty things like salesmanship. I don't even want to meet them. No time for that world. No living time left to wrestle with stupidities. So if your ads don't come through, it means that, one, the ad is off or you're off. If the ad gets a response and you don't bring them in, your job. So you must learn what to sell. Had some wonderful meetings this week, which was for me a very, very encouraging week. People spoke about the wonderful things that have happened in their lives, perhaps encouraged by the fact that I present the amazing amount of things that have happened in my life that are absolutely wonderful. I cannot believe how great my life is and basically how little I deserve it. This was a bad kid from the streets of the East Bronx. This was no sweetheart of a kid who got sent to Yale. And I owe every bit of it to the principles that we've been talking about for a long time. I can't believe how good my life is. Wow. Can't believe it. I get up in the morning, the first thing I say is, I can't believe it. Wow, this is great. And I lie in bed before I sleep, and I thank all that's the invisible for giving me such a fortunate existence. At this point, I get to thank about at least 20 people that, of course, were humans once and have now passed on. I thank them. I never feel alone because they are always with me. I know is a corny word. I believe very, very strongly that my last moments of life will have these beings present, and that it will be something very beautiful to experience. So this week people sat in my office and spoke about the good things, the confidence they're having, the good things in their life. And I mentioned, when you meet with your students, or whoever you deal with, make sure to present these living testimonials of what this work has encouraged you to have. And don't get caught up in the spin of their insecurities, of their pains, of their angers, of their hopelessness, because at that moment, the spirit of gravity is speaking to you through the person that you have made an appointment with. It's telling them, what do you want? What do you do? It's a con, it's a lot. Endless the amount of material the spirit can come up with. But fortunately, you've dealt with the spirit of gravity in yourself for 10 years or so you know what the spirit of gravity is capable of. Well, that's going to happen and be there with just about every person you see or meet ever. Here and there are those wonderful people who say, wow, I've been reading this, I've been reading that, I can't wait to join up, sign me on the dotted line, away they go. That's 1 out of 1,000. Essential to do this. Speak of a life of service. That is a life of service. What it will be like to do it every day of your life, every place you turn, that will be your heroism and your enlightenment. Associates, when you meet, when you speak to each other, be honest. This is the only place in the world that I have ever heard of where a group of people can meet and give an honest impression of what they are seeing in each other without coming from anger or jealousy, and expecting it to fall on ears that are open to sincere comment. Now, if Mark says, I see this about you, that does not mean that it is actually so. Everyone is in forms of development. But if Mark says so, and Albert says so, Sam says so, there's a lot of smoke there. Look into what you're doing, look into what you're saying, look into what it is that they are seeing. If one sees it, 2 sees it, well, maybe. If 3 people see it and they see it again and a few times, the chances are that they're seeing what's happening. For them to say it honestly and without malice aforethought is their responsibility. For you to accept it without jealousy and anger is your responsibility. The only group of people in the world that I've ever heard of that will do this. I've met with groups of shrinks and in like the most horrid scenes you've ever seen. You have the capacity to be a real family. Why not be a crack team of salespeople? Derek makes an appointment with somebody, something happens, he can't make it, great, Albert will be there. If Albert can't make it, Mark will be there. Somebody will be there. That has to be guaranteed. Why should a prospective student not have open to him or her that this week they can speak with Derek, next week they can speak with Derek and Mark, next week they can speak with Sam and all of you. A group full of teachers, an association, a society of teachers. That's what I envision. It's beginning, but the seeds are there. And every week that I'm in town, it is my obligation to sprinkle those seeds with some water and some sunshine and see that they grow properly. That's why I get paid. So I can continue to do that. Were it not for this association and group of people, believe me, I would not drive within 50 miles of New York City. I lived in Monticello, New York for 9 years. I think I came to New York maybe 3 or 4 times to work. There's nothing about this town that I can stomach. But this is my job. I do it. Present as much as you can. And all this is done with honesty. This isn't a song and dance to get what? Find the places where you agree and present that as a united front. So that a prospective student doesn't say, well, this one said this, and the other one said just the opposite, and the other one says they're both. I don't know, these people don't have their act together. Nice word, act together. Get your act together. Create an act, form an act, and do it. When I sold the amazing magic marker, I got a printed out spiel. That was my sales thing. It was printed out. I simply memorized it, as did the other salesmen. I went out and did it. Everyone did it with a slightly different flair, but basically I did the presentation. The presentation should take about 8 minutes at a Walmart or of 3 guys from Harrison or that sort of thing, and I did it. A lot of fun doing it too. Every sales position that I've ever heard of has a pre-written sales statement in which all the points are covered, or as many as can be covered. The idea, if someone forms a company, I believe you have to file out your, what is it, spirit of intention, or that's what's called?
Can be a thesis statement or a letter of intention.
Because the world at large has a right to know, what are you doing? What's this company going to do? What's this company going to do? And what are each of you as a company going to do? Because the prospective person comes and just says, okay, I read the sign, you sounded pretty decent on the phone, I'm taking a chance. I left the address and the phone number with my lawyer in case I get mugged and you take away my wallet, there'll be somebody here. What have you got to sell me? What have you got? Why? Tell me. And you've got X amount of time, which is brief, to get to the point and get to as many points as you can. You don't have 5 years of meeting and meeting and meeting. You've got one meeting better be good. What do you want for this person? What do you have in mind? Do you really want this person to have a better life? They are not that much different than when you started. If you are able to encourage them to have a better life, to be more honest, to have a more meaningful existence, you have demonstrated the highest interpretation of the word love. That is real love. Pardon my expression, the rest of it is just tits and ass. Do something for the people that come across your path. When they answer the phone, they are saying, in a sense, can you help me? Well, then do so. When I first met Henry, I stood in front of him. Not in those words, but in similar words. Man, can you help me? I am at the bottom. As they say, bottoming, I have bottomed. Can you help me? And he looked at me, and I saw in his eyes that he was saying, yes, I can help you if you help yourself. And I did, and that's the only reason I'm here. I would have been out of the 11th floor of the Ansonia Hotel or whatever Arms was on 50th Street. The more that your efforts weaken the spirit of gravity, the better the world will be. 1/8 millionth of an inch at a time. And expect that the spirit of gravity is going to come and attempt to kick your ass every day of your living existence. Every day I battle with my spirit of gravity, or the spirit of gravity assigned to me. Every day is a battle. I don't want to do anything. No way in the world does I want. No. There is, I will do what the work says. And the spirit of gravity says, well, I'm going to try to stop you. And the battle is ferocious. As it is for you, if you battle, and will be more so every single day you live. That's the Valhalla. When the sun goes down, the surviving warriors get together and bleed and talk and eat and drink, preparing for tomorrow's battle, which will be the same. Never lose sight of the idea that anything one gets in this world, one has to pay for. This is not free. If you give people the impression that this is for free because of whatever reason, they're going to be sadly disappointed as they go further on. And that may be just the disappointment that the ego tells them. You see, I told you. If you have aspirations of driving a good car that works, also have aspirations of paying for it. If not, I guess you'll be driving junkers forever. But a new, responsible, good car is going to cost you. Never let people lose sight of that. This is the Poconos, or maybe Santa Barbara. Do you live in Orange County? What a horrid county that is. All due to a person called the sheriff. Hodgkins or Hodgkins, and she's a gal at that. Bad news. This is the Poconos. Hello, Mr. Smith. Yes. Look, I'm calling you in reference to my deck is falling apart, or my pipes are leaking, or something is happening, or there's a giant mole eating its way through my garden. Well, sure, I can do something about that. Why don't you give me a call? No, I can't. You know, it's deer season. Nothing's going to happen. Give me a call towards the end of the month. Or you're really dying. I see you're bleeding. This is a giant mole that's even 8 feet tall. Oh my, that's serious. Well, look, give me a call at the end of this week, and I'll really see what I can do. And I'm about to come through the phone, 6 gun in each hand, because I'm from New York. You say, you want something good, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And I mean that. If I can't be there in 10 minutes, I'll get Albert to do it. He'll be there in 10 minutes. Something. People call you, they have moods. Remember that? Characters, personalities, moods. I want to do something about myself. Hello, can I speak to that? Hang up with them. Next voice. What are you doing? Are you going crazy? These people are going to hustle you. They're going to take away your girlfriend. They're going to take away your clothes. They'll probably mug you and kill you on Ludlow Street or one of those weird neighborhoods where they live. Don't do it. You let it cool down a day. It's a long time. When somebody walks into your car lot, first thing you find out is he got his checkbook with him. If he doesn't, continue with your lunch. He has his checkbook with him. Let's close a deal today. Because once he leaves that lot, or once you leave the customer's house, the odds on selling him again are smaller than they were before. If you miss twice, it's all over. When somebody calls, get on the stick and take care of business right away. Maybe see yourself as a doctor of the soul. Hey, you're bleeding. You go to the emergency room. Oh, the doctor will be here Thursday. Now. And I say these things not just for this work, but for whatever enterprise you enter in this world, it's the same story. Whether you're selling real estate, cars, books, whatever you're selling, whatever you're doing, it must have that intensity. I know California is a lay-down state, but it should lay down the Pacific already. When you tell your kid that you're going to take him to a football game on the 18th, take him. Because he's going to remember that when he's 36 years old. My dad told me take me. He never took me. The same thing. So the word tells us, do what you say you're going to do it effectively, do it as best as you can, and really, really do it. Let's hear from people. Let's hear from people. That's it, spring to it.
It occurs to me that this work taught me early on that if this work is right for you, you are a magnetic center. And with that belief and that sensation, you are a billboard for the work. The idea of print ads and phone calls isn't intuitive to me, in that if I am properly operating as a billboard for the work, we live in a very populated world and we run into people all day long. Why do we need to use a telephone when we have interpersonal interaction all day long? And nothing is better sold than in the moment.
Somebody take that up. Respond.
That's just one avenue. It should definitely be used. Networking, very big. But why not avail oneself of other ways and maximize the potential?
This person agrees with this statement. And, over the last month or so, I'm trying to, or say in the last year with the men's group, been trying to attract students. We've had some luck, but this person, in living the life through the work, seems that there is something going on inside of me that is attracting other people, potential students. I know this person has had 3 people just in the last few weeks come up to him and ask him, and in the moment, this person, as I said tonight, would strike, so to speak, and ask, well, what are you doing? Let's meet. Here's your answers to the type of meditation questions that you have. Well, let's do it. Let's meet for an hour. And this week I met someone, and so first email responded, what's wrong with your life? Why aren't you living the life you want to be living? This is what I have to offer if you want it. And that's how I opened the email and said, let's meet this Monday, here are the times. And the person wrote back and said, okay. And it seems like that there is a magnetism, that I'd heard that before, about living the work. And it's more of an attraction rather than promotion that seems to be collecting people. So this person feels indebted to pass it on, because it does feel miraculous to me where this person was 3 years ago to now, and how this person is living his life on a day-to-day basis. And so this person wants to pass it on to whoever sees it.
Let's hear opposition to this, because this is the kind of thing that your possibles will be talking all the time.
Well, I still like to respond because what I've heard from both people is definitely true, I think. And I found that to be the case. When I am representing the work, when I am doing the work, there is that magnetic center. People are attracted. However, there's a lot of competition for people, for souls, for bodies out there, and many ways to bring them in. If one doesn't have what it takes, that will, or isn't living this work, that will soon show. Nonetheless, it's easy to get all those horses over to drink some water. To begin with, it's good to maximize the pool from which you can draw. And there are various ways to do that. And what this person is hearing is in opposition to anything that doesn't sound really spiritual, coming from within, that one shouldn't employ the ways of the ordinary world in order to get people to learn something extraordinary. Just like a person, it's fine to charge people, by all means, but there are people who say, why don't you give this away?
This woman responded to an advertisement for a Don Juan group, and that's how she became involved in the work. And this person became involved because this person knew that person. So here's two people that have been in the work for I don't know how many years. It came through an ad in a newspaper. It doesn't mean that if Gil had ran into Pam on the street or the coffee shop or whatever, that a conversation might have been struck up and something might have happened. But this was an occasion that it happened differently. So I see very much what both of you are saying. I think that's true. That's my own experience in life. But why not cast the net as big as one can? So some will come through a direct encounter. Some will come through maybe an ad for a workshop or something. Some may come through a note put up somewhere. I mean, whatever means is possible, it seems to be an opportunity for gathering people. Why not?
Here's something I have to interject. 1 speaker, 2 speakers, 3 speakers, 4 speakers. First thing that they must ask themselves, and we as the ones who heard them must ask, who is speaking? In each of them. Who is speaking? What part of their schematic is speaking? Is there a chance that in this presentation, if I have it, I'll shine, that there's a factor in there that's saying, no, I don't want to do it the other way. It's easier this way. All I have to do is be me, others will see, done. All I have to do is write the great novel, done. All I have to do is this and that, done. I don't go with that track. Others can. I don't. No. Because that track does not do too much for this man or that man or that man as a salesman in his own life. Albert's not going to sell any cars just by radiating something. He might sell a car here and there by radiating. I don't know if he's going to radiate on a 52-week a year basis. Or books or solar panels or whatever.
Perhaps I should clarify about the magnetic center and the use of it.
And again, too, thank you for reminding me. I happen these days to take exceptional opposition to what's called jargon. Convince the guy on the street that what the hell is a magnetic center? Talk to me straight.
Wouldn't use that term on the street, but
I wouldn't use that term with anyone. I don't use it with you.
okay.
What do you mean by magnetic center? Why get into jargon? You have to be a Gurdjieffian to be able to interpret that. Talk straight to me.
If you were carrying a truth and a belief,
What the hell is carrying a truth and a belief?
good word, good point. Let's see. If you can approach others with a certainty and a style that strikes them differently.
No, I guess yeah. A certainty and a style that strikes them differently. Weird statement. Get simple with me. I'm a goomba from the East Bronx. Talk to me so I can understand.
Am I pitching you as if you were a student?
No, pitch me as if you were pitching the world. Explain yourself clearly, so that anybody with a high school education can understand you.
What I was going to add to that comment?
Whatever you want to say. Barack Obama speaks more or less. You don't have to be a high school graduate to understand him.
It's hard to do this once you've lost the presence to it. So let me
Start it.
gather myself and think
Yeah.
about that. My point was not to expel the idea of taking an ad out. But the idea seems to, what I'm hearing is that there is a problem between the answering of an ad and the ability to attract the person into the room. So my suggestion was, from my own experience, if you approach people in a different manner than the rest of the ordinary world, and that is something that means, to be Barack Obama-ish, do you believe in change? Do you believe in possibility of change? Do you want change? You can gather energy and force with people by inspiring them and saying things differently than most do.
And I'm being this way because I know you can take it.
I can take it, and you're right, so let's do it.
Two energy, different. If you come over to me and you convince me that you are honest and that what you have in mind is good for me, I'll do it.
But what I would say to you, and to you, and to you, and to you, and to you might be completely different.
No way. I'm trying to get over that.
How so?
I don't any longer want to go with the ideas of you have to be a jargon. Doctors talk to themselves in jargon. I want to speak so that a guy with no education can understand fully what you're saying, or what I'm saying, or what anybody else is saying.
Well, that's what the jargon has to be, very basic, but it also
Doesn't have to be basic at all.
It has to be customized to whom you're speaking to.
I don't think so. If you want, that's an opinion.
Well,
Be
approaching
prepared. The main body. Be prepared to put aside the concepts, the way of explaining concepts that you got from books to people who have never read a book and have not read the books that you have in mind. Spoke with somebody about the idea of starting people to read Ouspensky. Ouspensky is a bear of an author to read. The fact that anybody can read him is miraculous. That's not a pun intended. Because I say in my training of a sales force, speak to somebody in 10 words or less with something that will really say, that they can say, I want that.
my point being that those 10 words change with each person, depending on what they
say
say
to
to
a
you.
debate with you. Other people speak. Do you have anything to say on any subject?
You know, I think that there is two kind of men. Men that are born salesmen. They are good. They have the style. They know how to maneuver. They have it. God gave it to them. I don't know how. And there's people who don't. People who don't may have other talent, great talent. We're talking about these people. It's not so easy to find a natural born salesman. Not easy. They are very rare. If we take an average person, we have to give him a page of paper and he has to memorize it, and he cannot think that he can put a sign at the door for each client because he's not that good. Maybe in 30 years he can do that. But this is a training school for teacher, and we are in the beginning. And I know the men's group, we do everything. The idea and the concept is to work on ourselves everywhere, anywhere, and all the time. And if someone comes up with an idea to put an ad on Craigslist, my personality says, oh my God, not Craigslist, please. But it's a good idea, we do it. We do it where we work, we do it with our families, we do it with our friends, we try to do it everywhere. So the idea is not well to get the client, just to get them.
And also what Albert's saying, I want to add, this is a universal concept. People have very little time. I really don't know what your business is, but let's assume that you sell tables. Okay, you got the conversation goes up, you have tables. I have 5 seconds or 10 seconds to devote to you and your tables, whatever you're doing. Get it? Book me now. Let's get rolling. Because we're always presuming that somebody is going to come, like the literature say, and sit outside your cave for 6 months, die. No, we've got people who have 5 seconds to devote to any idea, and they've got to listen to you fast. Speaking with Derek, as an author, you've got a sentence in which to capture somebody for the page or for the paragraph. It's got to be a zapper. You've got to get the person. A movie has to start with something. James Bond picture starts out with the music and he's firing into the... It's something happening. Maybe there's, no doubt, some people will say, wow, then you're a very interesting guy. How did you get this, what have you? And they'll go. But that's going to be your 1 out of 100 or 1,000.
To clarify something that we're talking about, that Mark doesn't feel that any way to recruit people is mutually exclusive. If one want to stand in front of McDonald's or put ads out or feel that there's a glow coming from one that attracts people, those are all great. Mark isn't sure if one is better than the other. But Mark feels it's the effort in all of those is what's important. And being in the experience of trying to recruit people that is the key. And communicating to people, you aren't what you think you are what you do. And most people spend their lives in the future or the past. But Mark's new at this. Mark tried yanking his brother out of Indonesia, setting him on the right path and using the work to do it. And it worked for about a month, but then his brother, in a couple of weeks, fell right back to where he was, new low. And then going on to other students, Mark has no idea whether it's going to work or not, but the effort that is being put forward to create work and to learn and to become better at doing it makes it all worth it, no matter what the outcome is. And so the effort, Mark feels, is the most important part.
This person had a doctor's appointment today, and he's just opening a brand new office, and he talked about expanding it. And he deals with people in pain. And he said we can start a masseuse over here, and this kind of person there, or maybe a therapist. Whoops. So right away I'm thinking, good opportunity. And this person makes a profession of dealing with ordinary bullshit, as you might say, people's ordinary problems, but everyone she deals with is a prospective student of her as well. So when she can involve in the work, and the work enters into everything she does. So right away this person started talking about how she does something better than biofeedback, and such and on, and he became excited and interested. And so we have a follow-up on that. But you have to just be always aware and listen for any opportunity and grab at it, and right away come in there with something that's going to appeal. For this person, it's about, more money for him eventually. So anything that sounds like better business would appeal to him, related to the work he does. But I would come right out and say if I only have 5 minutes with someone, and let them know how great I'm doing now and how I got there. If they have something that they're complaining about, I can use that as a way to get in there. I used to have that same problem, but here's how my life changed. And you know what? Now I'm helping other people get the same thing.
What do you think, Sam?
Well, I'm very new to this work, so I don't.
How about selling in general? This work is no different than anything else.
Yeah, sure. There's certain things that people. I think accessibility and the way people can relate to whatever it is you're selling is the key to grasp their interest and keep it. I know for myself, someone that might know, he's introduced me to this work, and it was something that I was ready to take on because I was at a certain stage in my life where I was in search of something, and for me it clicked, and it was merely a matter of timing.
How come you didn't go to a psychoanalyst or a church or something?
I didn't. I didn't care to do that. It wasn't. It wasn't something that I really needed to do. This
I'm
work
getting
was that.
confused.
Sorry.
You say it wasn't something I needed to do?
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm talking about how come, if you were a person that was having some problems, how come you didn't address them before? By going to some place or something or something?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. But I know that once I started this work, things started to click. Or whatever that is. Maybe that's the antithesis to the spirit of gravity. It's just something that, it worked.
Now, a question that probably doesn't have too much of an immediate answer. The work is done in life, but it is the direct opposition to life. Life wants man to head in a certain direction, and the work wants us to head in a different direction. If we did inner work in a monastic circumstance, it'd be a lot easier, but it wouldn't be the work. And I really don't want an answer. Ask yourself, what percentage of your thoughts deal with life, and what percentage of your thoughts deal with the work, or the direction that work is pointing in? Perhaps as a gross and inaccurate statement, Mr. Jones, his mind circles on his family, his job, the things of every day, and he feels that that's pretty good. He's doing along okay. How much of Mr. Jones's mind is spent on what's going to happen when I die? Can I become an honest person? Can I become a person who doesn't lie to myself and do all that inner work What percentage of your life is based upon everyday issues, and what percentage of your life is spent on, as Gurdjieff said, creating a soul? Just think about it yourself. I'll have to admit that for me, the only thing that really matters is, what am I going to do at my hour of death? Like the karma states, or am I going to select another body, and I'm going to want another life? If there's a hell, am I headed for it? What impact, if the body goes, or not your body's going to go, what's going to happen to the soul, if there is one? Is my soul prepared? What's going to happen in those terms? I don't have too much mind energy left to contemplate the real world, as we call it. It's as if somebody came into work saying, I want to learn how to walk through walls, as many of us did in India in the 70s. Nothing else matters as much as being able to walk through a wall, or to levitate, or to disappear, or to be able to sit in the snow with freezing temperatures and irradiate heat from a puddle of water. Yeah. If I work hard enough, do you think I'll be able to walk on water? That's the real stuff, not the jobs, girls, apartments. I don't have time for that jazz. We must know where our intent is focused. Are you doing the work because of what the results will be in terms of daily life? Or are you doing the work in terms of what the result may be in the soul life?
How about if one is doing the work for what the results are right in the moment when one is doing the work?
Doesn't make sense to me. No. What's the intent?
To be where you are when you're there.
No, that's not the work. That's not the work. Yes. It's a tremendous idea. It's not the work. Read Gurdjieff again, read Ouspensky again, read the literatures again, and that's not what the work is. Gurdjieff said the most important thing we must do is build a soul out of the pieces that we inherit. If you read Gurdjieff and Ouspensky and all the literatures line by line, that's what they're getting at. A result of doing that will place you in reality, in the here and now, as a result of doing that. But being in the here and now does not imply benefits to your soul, the souls of others, benefit to the world, a life of belief. Doesn't seem to imply that. So I can't agree with you or disagree with you. For me, it's not that.
this
What?
one here is a difference of intent. To be in the here and now, to gain a soul, different intent. To just be in the here and now, a smaller intent, a good intent, maybe a larger intent, I'm not sure.
Thank you. That's a statement I'll remember and apply. Is this what we're doing? A continuation of the dreams and prayers of thousands and thousands of people throughout the ages? Is this the answer or part of the answer to heaven and hell and reincarnation? If I believe that no one from the invisible is observing me, I think my life would be vastly different. Or it could be. But when I accept that there's something in the invisible that knows every thought that goes through my mind, and I've got to work very hard at the thoughts that generate themselves in my mind, at my wants, at my intents. For me, the invisible world, Rodney Collin, Mirror of Light, the Kunda buffer that is installed in us so we can see the things that are upside down, seeing the light. That's basic work. What do I tell the spirit of my father that I've done with my life? That doesn't have to be real and important to anyone but me. What I'm talking about me is you will talk about you. What have I done with this life that will grant me a better life, if there is one, karma? That's where my mind is. In the meantime, getting here tonight, I did drive up to 42nd Street or 40th Street at the go across and down 11th Avenue because I was thinking of Rumpelstiltskin or something. What do we pray for? Do we pray? Why do we pray? I know in the meantime I've got to make a right on 28th Street, but if I do, if I don't, to me it's not that important. Eventually I got here at 1 minute after 7. Could have been maybe 3 minutes to 7, but yeah. What's the intent? When you speak to an interviewee or something, is it possible in your mind that this is your replacement? It's possible in my mind. I'm not thinking about your marriage and if it's going to work out. I'm thinking, can you replace me to whoever it may be? My mind is constantly there. It's there when I wake up, every day I tell Petra or Marie or Harry, you are now a being in a dog or cat's body. What you were the last time, I don't know. What you'll be the next time, I don't know. If there'll be a next time, I don't know. But my mind tells me, thank you for having come into my life and spending your moments with me. Thank you, thank you. It's an act of love. I went to visit a man whom Magimu is buried in his garden. And I thought of her while I was there. That's where my mind is. Yes, it has to pay the rent. It has to take care of it has to, and I do it pretty damn good. Good enough. I ain't got time for that shit. I do it. Has to be done. It's of very little interest to me. If the country goes completely belly up, I mean really belly up, can I take it? As far as no problem. I was born in it, I'll die in it. No problem to me. I don't care. I really can live on a loaf of bread a day. Not exactly a whole loaf, 3/4 of a loaf, I can live on that. But what's going to happen to my soul? What does my father think? What does my mother think? What does Mr. Gurdjieff think? He's looking at me. Wow. Wow. Can I tell Mr. Gurdjieff, I took your ideas and I turned them into this and that and jive and nonsense. Can I do that? Will I find forgiveness anywhere in the worlds to come? So, I say, when you look at a person you're bringing into their own salvation, can you see them as the successor to your line? I leave, Pamela is here. She'll be here doing this forever. Albert is here, 2. James is here, 3. Some more or less of them. I don't know. I don't know how many people have said to me, Gil, this is the only most important thing in my life. To bring people to their own salvation. To fight what's called the devil himself. And believe me, that battle is rough. I wake up in the morning and he's right there, the spirit of gravity. Come on, Barretto. Finish it. Don't do this, don't do that. Brooklyn! Jesus Christ, what can be uglier than Brooklyn? Pardon me, any Brooklyn residents. Okay, that's the initial battle. Get up and start the day. Because life is not, the life I present, is not about I like, I don't like, I want, and I don't want. What does the work want from you? What does the work want? Are you doing what the work wants? What do you say, Albert?
think that to say the work is the most important thing for me, and I'll dedicate my life for doing the work. Is what I want to do. But the struggle, the power of gravity takes me down, and I feel like a little seed that is under the ground, and I'm opening up, and I'm trying to just get out. And I know I can be a tree, you know. I wish to be a tree, a big one. I don't know if destiny is going to take me 20 years. I don't know if it's my destiny to get enlightened in a moment. I don't know if I have to prepare for that. I don't know. Maybe other people said, yeah, right, he says he's going to do all his life, but he's busy doing this, doing that, doing that. I try as hard as I can. I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not. I work with the cards I was dealt. So I do a pretty good job. It can be done a little bit. You can always do more. The mind always tells you can do better. It never ends. But you know, I think everybody wants to have a great life. Nobody wants to have a boring, stupid
That's
life.
the spirit of gravity. That's the part of the work that is anti-work. Life is not work. Work is not life.
Yes, but we all, I want to be like you.
You can't be like me. Maybe in time, but you can't be like me now. I've thought on that question and I think about it. It's important. Work is against life. Life is against work. What flies in life does not fly in work. When we said before that somebody comes and talks to you and they're asking you in a sense, okay, I answered, whatever, I met you, what can I get from you? That's the point of bravery, of challenge, of completely putting your throat open. That's the point where you find to yourself who you are and what you believe. If you ask me what I'm offering you the life you've always dreamed of and never had the courage to take. I'm offering you eternal, the end to despair, the end to loneliness, the end to confusion. I'm offering you knowledge of what you are and what you could be. I'm offering you reality, real life, because what you have now is a dream that's close to insanity. I'm offering you that you can become the man you've always wanted to be. The man you should be, because the man you want to be may be an illusion. But with this, you'll become the man you should be. You follow what I say, and I'll teach you the meaning of love. Because as you stand now, can't really love. don't know how to. I'll teach you the meaning of the supreme invisible, because where you are now, you don't really believe it. Does anyone speak to people that way? I do.
I have.
Hmm?
I have.
And continue to do so as much as you can. It's the only conversation worth having with a person.
The caveat of that is I can only offer to teach what I know.
Now, I take that to be another statement of the spirit of gravity saying, no, I can't. Yes, I can.
No,
You can teach anyone to find me.
that is what the
That's the teaching you can do. Then
That's
do
what
that.
I can do.
Then do it. 24 hours a day.
I honestly and truly have never found anything in ordinary life that justifies life to me. And so I know that what I seek is everything that you speak of. It's not about ordinary life at all. And yet, I've been so caught up in ordinary life, and I've been closer to what I call real life. Don't call it life, reality. To focusing on my soul, what I could do for others, and being out of this ordinary nonsense. And yet, time to time, I get caught up in it. And I've been so caught up in it lately.
You don't get caught up in it. You are the victim of the spirit of gravity. You get taken, you get possessed.
Then I get freer, but
That's
it's
your
always a
fight.
backward step.
That's your fight. To fight the spirit of gravity every moment it shows its head.
Yes, yes. I could be stronger or more cognizant more often.
Pray more. Talk to me more. Do whatever you have to do. I have an affinity towards the idea of the devil because it's easy to understand. A red guy with hoofs and horns. I get the picture. Spirit of gravity is a little bit harder to picture. No picture this ether that walks around. But every time that you see yourself getting taken off your road, know that the devil is on you. He wants you. Wants to eat your heart. How do you do, sir? My name is Joe. Your name is Sam. The look in your eye tells me that you haven't found what you want, haven't found what you need, are just as confused and talking to yourself now as you were 5 years ago. Come with me and I can give you life. That's my opening statement. When I met Madeline at her party, thank goodness Pam threw her party. She asked me what I did. I said, I teach the Gil Jeff work. I didn't know whether she had ever heard of it. That's what I said to her. She was interested. She's come a few times. I don't know anything about her, I've never spoken to her. But anyone who enters into a conversation with me is going to hear this. And my own daughter entered into a conversation with me and sent me an email back. I didn't know that you were a man of this character. I didn't know that you were a man of this depth. I feel I've hardly known you. I'm hesitant to make another call to talk to you. Never heard from her again. She'll never hear from me again. If you're not in this room, to me, you don't exist.
always comes to mind is the idea of freedom to do what? From the depths of the work, there are experiences that are given that allow one to, in a sense, walk into this invisible world. And I never hear enough of that place. Perhaps people can talk more about the stories that are in that level. And I feel the work has given me, because I've made a commitment to service, it's given me the opportunity to live in this other world. And today I was invited to a meeting with the president of the General Assembly's office, who is a Jesuit priest. And he and his friend, the president of Bolivia, just had the level of intent with what they were doing about as many indigenous people believe that the earth is their mother. That on Earth Day, which is usually done in not as deep a manner, to just take this sensibility, how do you transfer this sensibility to a world? And so I was invited to help. And that, and just the way they spoke about the water, the water being, of course, it is the biggest next issue, and the privatization of water, but this whole quality of these, of being given by the work this position of service, by James, who introduced me to these areas, to Gil, who has given me the power, and to all the beings that sort of believe in me. So I feel chosen to help. And I don't, like, how do people walk in, and this is like walking into the work and then take the posture of service.
You were exposed to real work 30 years ago. Yes, there are those who are chosen. I was very right in that, who have talents. But to find another Pamela, to find another Albert, to find another associate, you're going to have to go through many, many, many people, many conversations, many phone calls, many responses, many, many, many. At this leg of the journey, and don't be surprised if next month or next year I present a different picture. It's my job to present the picture that's needed at the time. I fear the disappointments that people will have, because they will have them. And we deal with sensitive people. Oh, what did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? I must try to convince you there is no right, wrong. If you sell one vacuum cleaner after knocking on 70 doors, you've had a good day. A good day. said, I want to present this. I wish Alexandra to feel herself, to define herself, and be defined as an associate. The idea of the men's group, to me, is, at this point, abhorrent. It's the associates of people who are doing this. There aren't too many women at those meetings, and I feel there should be at least the first one. What do you think?
I don't know.
Hmm?
I don't know what I think. I think that
Think
we are
right
a
now.
part of a school, and that if we can be of service to each other, we should.
Do you have a desire or an inclination to be at these associate meetings? If so, why so? If not, why not?
I'm not sure what the associate meetings are about, and it's something I'd like to know more about.
Well, you have to go to a few to find out.
I would have to be invited first.
Hmm?
I would have to be invited first.
Didn't I just invite you?
You did.
Well, the only invitation is necessary.
Monday night, 7:30, right here. Great, great to have you.
No one else wants her to come.
Yes, the doors are definitely.
That's not
Yeah, me too.
necessary. We'll see.
That's the men's group?
No.
No,
That's everybody's group? One or
Apparently not.
It's basically a training ground for salesmen, for people who are sellers.
because I go to other groups, but not to the money. I don't back that.
It's rather direct. My stance is that the associates have decided that their main purpose is to bring people to this organization, not to just give work, but to bring them here. That's what I'm considering an associate.
I have a comment.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, I think it would be of interest to know what people do. Like I don't have a sense other than like in terms of what makes these people or these associates interesting. Like I don't have the sense that people really do things that are that interesting, that are that of service, or that it's the kind of person, I do of some people, but not of others, like, what is your calling card? What does your dance card say? You know, what do you do? What do you do that makes a difference in anybody's life? Other than saying these ideas are important to me, I believe in, where does it go?
I want to make an appointment with you and speak to them at length.
Didn't understand that sense.
I said, where does it go? That's the second point. It doesn't matter to me whether the person believes that anyone who's talking to them has any kind of nothing. I say to you, I say, how do you do? I'm a messenger who can save your life. If that doesn't interest you, thank you very much. Have a terrific life and never call me. If it does interest you, I think at that point I'll see something in your eye, and then we can continue that conversation further And that'll be the way I see it. That is my purpose to demonstrate to you the qualities of this work and have you attempt to join it.
My question, right, separately from that, I think, and I've said this over and over again, that what do people do that has a sense of presence or a sense of, people are drawn to people that are either like them for better or worse. But I think that the work coming from essence ends up having in that person a certain presence.
Mm-hmm.
And that in a sense there's something, if someone says, how are you of service? Okay, take that one idea. That people need to be able to say.
That's what we're here for. To learn what to say, how to develop what to say. 100% right. Something should be there.
But I don't hear much of what that is.
Right.
So that's another step. Like I am in the work, and after such and such, I have X amount of children, I make X amount of money, and what else do you do?
For instance, last night, Yossi sat in my office and spoke beautifully about the transformation he's had in working with me and doing this. I think he should speak that way to everyone he meets. And I think he should speak here that way all the time. And so should anyone. I really mean that, people. I've meant it for 20 years. I really mean it. I want you. Tell me, tell her, tell the entire world what you were the week before you met me and what you are now.
For most parts and most of the time, I do. And then sometimes that thing is stronger and I don't.
Most of those times happen when you're here?
No, they happen. Yeah, they've happened in this room many times. But
They happen to me. They happen almost all the time. Because I spoke to people, I'm making it a point to, why should I believe that this meeting is any different from the Saturday afternoon meeting? Where are the testimonials that people should be practicing and have them for the Saturday night meeting? Or is the Saturday morning meeting just sitting around and who's going to jump up and say, I found this, I found that, boom. So somebody can say, wow, you found this, you found that. I want to get in on this. But with yeses and noses and, nobody's going to hear anything. See, I'm not asking let's be this. I'm saying let's get on the ball and learn how to run a meeting. If this is a bread meeting, I want you to jump up and take over that meeting and say, come with me. I want you to learn and to feel how to say, throw down your damn sandals and follow me. If you ain't got that, you ain't got it. I'm going to walk on without you. Let's hear that. Have people got that fire? I don't know. If you have it, show it. If you don't have it, I'll try to get something. If Tamla says she sees nothing, hears nothing.
I feel that people have that quality, but it's not expressed.
Well, I'll go along with that. Maybe it's not in their culture to express it. What do you call that word when it's like the lifestyle, the Schweiggeist?
Also,
I was wondering if you were in there. I was going to knock.
But it goes back to this thing, if you have to carry it or you can't make it up. And this
right.
work saved my life. That is a fact. Fact, not an exaggeration, not a fact. A fact.
I know.
Yeah, through this. That is something, when I'm selling something to somebody, That's the truth. That's
How
an
many
intention.
people do you tell this to a month? That Gil Barretto and his enterprises saved your life?
Any 15,
Not
20,
any-
30? 15?
That many?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where are they?
Well, it comes up in different conversations. Some of them are in my group. Some of them are in the group in LA. Some of them ask and inquire and ask what to read, and they fizzle out. That's normal. But percentage-wise, as years have gone on, I've sold a hell of a lot of vacuums per capita.
Okay.
That's because I believe
Well, one of your vacuums is here.
one vacuum is here.
Who is the vacuum?
The Electrolux.
The Electrolux. Is that the standard hose?
No, it's a very special edition.
Yeah. Take as an example, not the politically correct smilers with the little briefcases. What happens if you take into your heart your role model? Jesus didn't walk in there and say, hey, look, you guys shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be. Can we make some sort of an agreement where you fellas take your business elsewhere? No. Jesus Christ walked in and he destroyed the temple where the gamblers were or wherever they were. Is that going to happen anymore? Throw down your sandals and follow me? Why? Because you're going nowhere. Gurdjieff said, what are you? You're totally asleep, you're a piece of shit, you're an idiot. Want to cure that situation? Follow me. If not, stay the idiot you are. Where are we going to get that to come out of people when maybe they're afraid of making a bad impression or losing a client?
A salesman must believe his act.
What?
A salesman must believe his act, must live his act,
Yeah.
convince the other person. This man has not so many vacuums.
That's why he's here. I think he's got the capacity to. He hasn't yet, but I think he's got the capacity to. If I didn't think he had the capacity to, he wouldn't be here. I think he has.
There's also a component of this work that in ordinary life sounds insane. And it's quite the opposite. We know that paradox develops as we do in this work. It takes a certain daring to not care if you don't sound like everyone else.
Yes, it does.
For me, if I start to sound like everybody else, then I'm not working. This sales pitch is always a bit terrifying. Personality will sometimes commentate, Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? Like, what, this person's going to turn on heel? But there is magic at the core of it. And I know we don't want to use terms like magnetic center or magic or the invisible.
I use invisible.
You do, but prefer not that we do in all of these meetings always. So you have to pitch something that people have not heard before, because this work is certainly not something someone has heard before.
Okay.
And it's scary, and you do, to some, probably sound strange, but if you aren't strange and you are different, that is attractive.
Sure.
To some, to the ones
Well,
you want in the
we
room.
don't need 20,000 people next month.
And I don't want the ones that want Disneyland. It's
Mhm.
not. interesting to me.
What do you think? By you, I mean everybody, always. Gurdjieff had said when two people meet, one's the student and one's the master. Do you believe that? Deep in your soul, do you believe that?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then everybody you talk to is your student.
Pretty much.
Tell them what's going on. And you. Is that your stance in your mind? Hey, buddy, I'm here to show you where it's at. Because as vulgar as it sounds, I really believe it. I believe that 25 hours a day. I'm here to show you where it's at.
In my case, it's not only a belief, it's what I see. When I speak to most people that I speak, I find myself needing to correct them or direct them or point things out to them. It's just how it is.
So it is for you. To this I add points that she subtled. I can't grab one. It was there. The underlying thing is, I know where it's at and you don't. To do this, I'm going to lavish you with cocktails. I'm going to take you golfing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this and that. But underneath, I know that I know where it's at, and I'm offering you something. And if you don't bite, screw you. But in the meantime, Mr. Gurdjieff had his meetings at the Café de la Paix, which is the swankiest place in Paris. I believe his bar tabs and his dinner tabs and his lunch tabs would amount to maybe $3,000 a week in today's currency. Bring Mr. Such and such. He played the King of the Hill, knowing all the time in his head that this is the game he's playing with you because you're the bozo and he isn't. And if he's got a use for you, he'll let you play more. When he's got no use for you, tell him, go screw yourself. Gertrude Stein, the world's greatest writer, friend of Picasso, whoever she was, finally came to Gurdjieff's place. Mr. Gurdjieff's Gertrude Stein is here. I'll go home. That's what I'm talking about, one-pointedness. Your job is to get that person that spoke to you, get them in here. Don't save their life, get them in here. By in here, I mean on Tuesday night or Wednesday night or whenever you meet. And you make a certain amount of effort, and if it doesn't happen, screw them and get somebody else. It's a tough work. Mr. Gurdjieff said there isn't enough cake for everybody. So those who really want the cake, give them a slice. Those that don't want it, further comments? Oh my God, it's 10:31.
Just like you say, I was thinking a lot about courage during the meeting, and it came up at the beginning when you asked everyone to self-remember, and sitting here and thought of an occurrence that happened today where an acquaintance, it seemed, sort of came to me and was asking really for help in a way. And at first I thought I didn't know what to say, and that's why I wasn't able to help this person. But in thinking further, I believe I just didn't have the courage to help this person.
That you don't have.
But I believe that I didn't have the courage at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember as we were sitting here, kind of asked or told myself, prayed in a way for the courage to be able to help other people. And as we were speaking more, just occurs to me that a lot of the work to me is about courage, and anything I've been helped is towards gaining courage. It's not about gaining some knowledge to pass on the right stick or the right set of words, but it's really, it seems, the courage to, I guess, engage someone from an emotional part of myself and not my intellectual part. And we were speaking about this yesterday a little bit. I think I've looked at, if you look at sales or missed sales, we're talking about that. I think I often diagnose the missed sale as I just didn't have the right thing to say or I didn't know enough. But I think it's just I wasn't engaged, didn't have the courage to engage someone from a deeper part of myself. And I think that's the times when I kind of fumble in these occurrences. And work to me is all, anything that I've done, I believe came from an increased amount of courage, and that came from this work.
You mentioned that you didn't have the courage. I'm dying to ask you, what were you afraid of? That you should know. I should know too. We all should know, but you should know. What were you afraid of?
It's a good question. To put words, it's afraid of perhaps exposing myself, or part of myself.
What do you mean by get to the meat? What's exposing yourself? What were you afraid of?
I know the feeling, but it's hard.
Yeah, find the word. You're a good author. What were you afraid of?
I guess it's partially afraid of being, maybe being seen. Being seen is.
Seen as what?
Being seen maybe.
As what? Everybody knows you're a fellow.
Having trouble to describe it.
Go ahead, try. Push, it's work.
It does, yeah.
You were afraid of somebody seeing something about you. What were you afraid they would see?
Maybe that's not, now I'm backtracking, maybe that's not exactly it, but yeah, it is, I guess it's a feeling of being, I almost see it as, I guess I'm seeing a flower that's closed, and so there's some sort of fear in the opening, and I don't know why.
Do you tell lots of people that you have been part of this mystic society for years and years that meets 3-4 times a week?
I wouldn't say a lot.
How much would you say?
I'd say a percentage of people that I see, maybe a third.
Third. That's all right.
That's not, maybe not a lot to some people.
Mm-hmm. The man's saying something. People that I've met in this room are afraid somehow of admitting, hey, I belong to a cult or a clan or a group that's under the leadership of this guy for years, and we discuss things like souls, and that's what I do with my life. I think other people may have a little bit of reluctance to say that.
When I heard Derek speak now, and in a way I was hearing myself saying exactly what he was saying, and but I went forward and did not go back on it. And what I had to say, and I've said it before, I'm sitting in front of Gil, and I think I said it in this room, is being exposed. Exposed what? That I'm a fraud. I think I have a fear of being exposed of being a fraud, that I'm not walking the talk. And saying that I'm part of a clan, whatever, it's all talk. What do you have to show for it. And so my fears of being exposed that I'm not what I claim to be or what I would like to be. And that's very scary, and so it's hiding behind the idea that I'm doing it and that I'm part of it. And as long as that I don't open up this conversation, I don't have to prove that I actually am, or being exposed that I'm not.
Does anyone see the self-centeredness and the ego of this statement?
I understand it. I battle with it myself, and it was, for me, it wasn't coming out of my witch closet as we've coined it in the past. That was easy. The harder thing was being willing to actually take responsibility for other people's path. And if you're offering to teach, that's what you're saying you will do.
Okay, let's stop.
And that for me was the most terrifying thing to overcome, mostly because I'm too selfish and self-centered to want to say, my door will always be open, I will always take your call, and I will do for you what my teacher has done for me. That was the scariest leap of all, and I had people calling me, asking me to teach them. And that's the level of denial. It wasn't that they didn't know what I did or what I was involved in, but that I was unwilling to take responsibility for another soul, other than my dog or a few friends and a few family members.
Yossi said it, and you said it. The same thing in different ways, same thing. I mentioned the ego. The implication that I heard was that I don't want to tell this person that I can do X, Y, and Z and fail, and they'll see me. And I'm repeating again, and this is the zinger. Don't say you're going to do anything like that, because you're not. You're going to simply send them to me, and I will do it. Through your group, through your preparation group, you can safely say, look, I've been listening to this guy for years, I can't do it, but why don't you go listen to him? I'll tell you where he is, I'll take you to groups of people who are beginners. I'm a student, I'm a beginner in this. Nobody will be expecting you to do anything. It's the ego, the mind that says, somebody's expecting me to fix them. And my mind says, I'm going to fix you by sending you to the world's greatest doctor. I'm not a doctor. That's the point. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 1, 2, thank you. Hit the nail right on the head. You are not teachers. You are associates who get together and solidify ideas, do this and that. All the things that the associates do. But you are not going to fix anybody for quite a while.
I've been in this work for around
30
years.
years.
And I do present myself as a teacher, and I have a few people who consider themselves my students. And my aim when I meet someone who might be interested is to be their teacher, not to send them on.
Okay.
I'd like to know while I have the floor. I've been aware that there's a Monday meeting. I go to about 3 Thursday meetings a month there. And I'd like to know what other meetings take place for anyone. Because it was mentioned that there are several meetings a week. So I'd just like to know what's available.
Well, there's the Monday meeting, which is what we've been speaking about, and that's pretty much the sole purpose of that is to bring new members in.
What time does that meet again?
That's at 7:30 here, and that's for the purpose of bringing new members, not really for us all to work in Tuesday nights, the men's. We have a men's meeting. That's it.
No more men's meeting, because we've got to make that distinction.
Associates meeting. Excuse me.
So that's going to be open or not?
I'm not sure.
Well, I'm asking if an associate is their purpose in being here and in working is to bring new members. You're not a teacher. bring new members. That's the purpose. And the purpose of the associates group is for me to coach you in what to do to bring in new members. After they're here a week or two, we'll get to the next stage. That's the idea, because when each of these people has somebody they work with, it goes through me. So I will be the one who has all the different people on my desk. And I'll say, well, this guy needs this guy needs that. Drop this and go with Yossi. Or drop this thing here, I think it should be with Johnny, etc., etc. And I don't want to do that with somebody who's not going to put themselves in a position to do that with me.
Of course not.
There is a protectiveness that this man has experienced with the work, where he has tried to hide it away at times, and I hear it in what Eric is saying, and even in what Pam is saying earlier about what you do. Not being able to just go up to someone and say it in a 10-word sentence, because wanting to keep it special, wanting to keep it private, maybe being
Why?
afraid of it,
Oh,
showing.
come on, you're on the right track. Why keep it private? Why hide it?
Fear.
Fear of what?
I go back to what Yoshi was saying, fear of being exposed. Certainly for this man, fear of being in a cult is huge. It comes from his whole
Uh-huh.
growing up in a
Mhm.
very, very heavily Christian environment,
Right?
a cult of its own.
Mm-hmm.
But even tonight, hearing that the men's group may become something that's not a men's group anymore. There is, in this man, a protective moment of, wait a minute, this is mine. This isn't yours. I don't know what that is yet. But it's something to look at from another point of view and say, why am I protecting it? The work doesn't need my protection.
Right.
It should be about opening it.
You're looking at it now. This is looking at it. You're not protecting the work, you're protecting yourself. People should think that you really come all the way into New York to be in a group of artistic, philosophic madmen and women.
They must think many crazy things that I would travel. Certainly, most people, when I tell that I go to New York 2 times a week, every week, and twice extra on a month, and now perhaps coming to Thursday nights again, it's a lot of time. Doesn't make any sense. It's insane.
Lie. I always lie. I have no day. Lie like crazy. When you meet somebody you think can take the truth, you give them a zap. They can't. They're gonna keep lying. I've used philosophical club, writers club, ideas club, think tank, whatever occurs to you at the minute.
Actually, I've started experimenting with telling the truth.
I tell you the truth club. That's a good one. Yeah.
And I found that for me to learn what the truth of it is, to begin to put it out there and be able to say to someone honestly what we do, if I can say that, gives me a new power.
You've got a great fall guy, a Gurdjieff group. Lots of them around. Man has been in print for 70 years.
Fourth way.
What?
The fourth way.
The fourth way, yeah. Or whatever you like. Lie, lie, lie. Just don't lie to yourself and try not to lie to the associates. But civilians, lie, lie, lie. they're not worth the paper they're written.
I wish it was possible that that I would be able to give out my experiences and my understandings of the work to other people and make it do something positive with it, rather than what actually happens often is that I'm in close proximity with people through my work, and not this work, but work, life work, and I've absorbed a lot of I guess I've absorbed an awful lot more than I even realize sometimes, because I get so annoyed at the conduct of the people that I have to be very close to and work with or be with or live with, even in my own family, even in my own household. That I'm making these comparisons between the way it ought to be done and the way it's being said, or the way it is being done. And I'm feeling, sometimes I'm feeling superior, sometimes I'm feeling put upon by somebody who I can't really say that they're doing something stupid, but I feel it is. And it's a negative thing a lot.
Welcome to the club.
When
We live like that all day, every day.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Enraged.
Yeah. I have an even disposition. I'm always furious.
Well, when people do ask me about it, there's something like it's like my stomach tightens, I can almost say, and it's as if I've got to be masterful at giving an explanation of this.
More ego.
Yeah, and they're usually only window shopping anyway. They just sort of want a few sentences, and then their interest fades off, and they're on to something else anyway. So then I
Practice. Learning.
I remember one time Pam will recall that one time I had some students that came to France, and I met with Pam and Paula before I went over there, and we made up a list of things that I should do and shouldn't do, or should avoid doing, and one of the things was not to sort of propagandize the work on these kids that were working for me. Is to just kind of, in a way, when you say you just are the work, then people are drawn toward it, and they sort of sense that there's something there that's kind of strangely, it communicates without words almost, when you behave according to principles of the work. And I remember this is what actually occurred. And it wasn't like, we can get together for readings sometimes, they're just books. But not just Gurdjieff books, or not just books about the Fourth Way or anything. But when the conversation would come around to it, I was much more courageous than for some reason talking about it. When they asked, I told them, but I never really pushed it on them.
Do you believe that you are here to show people where it's at? Yes or no?
That's what I want to be here for.
I didn't ask you that. What did I ask you?
Well,
What did I ask you?
he asked me if I believed if I was here in order to do that.
To do what?
To tell people about the work, to bring people
I
here.
didn't ask you that. What did I ask you? Somebody.
Does he have the need to show people where it's at?
Show people
Yes or
where
no?
it's at. Show people where it's at.
Yeah. Are you that kind of guy?
Well, I do that, and I get in a hell of a
Yes
lot
or
of
no?
trouble for it.
Yes or no? Do you believe that that's what you're here to do? That that's your life gig?
Yeah, I guess it has to be, because
You don't. You guess you don't. I am here to tell everybody where it's at in everything. That's my life gig. I chose it and I do it. So did a lot of other people.
I do this in my home.
Oh, well, you're a sissy, but I'll do it outside. I gotta go to bed or something, or have some tea. Is there tea and cookies